just seen the first glimpse of Villa Park. Hello and welcome back to EnterJoel's channel. And I'm just having coffee on a, well, overcast day, quite a nice day. But anyway, the most important thing I'm going to be talking about is my journey to Aston Villa's ground, the football ground in Birmingham. I was staying there for a week in Birmingham at the Aston University. That one of your previous owner had a very invested interest in that university. I might do I think I will do a separate video to talk about that. What I want to talk about is the journey. I went from Birmingham New Street to Witton because it was more nearer. I think it was only like 10-15 minutes walk. I'll show you the videos and the photos. So yeah, that's what I did. If anyone's new to the channel, welcome to my channel. I do, long form videos. Like this will be the first video I actually gone outside of my studio. So yeah, Aston Villa. So welcome to the channel. Like and subscribe if you like this. So when I train and walked down the ramp, and then there was a sign saying with Aston Villa football ground is that way, and the sign just didn't feel welcome. It didn't feel welcoming to me. I looked at the area. It's just it's a bus tour destination. You go into the place and you go back on the bus sort of thing, if you understand what I'm saying. So as I was walking down around the corner, and as I got to the corner, I saw there I was trying to film the whole section of the Doug Ellis stand. The Doug Ellis stand is a very famous stand. According to Aston Villa fans, it's like one of the biggest stands. And you have that amazing architecture of the building. I really love looking at it, and that's where some of the hospitality lounges are there. But I was very shocked about one of your stand. It's the north stand is going through the construction works. I think they're building that stand to be a little bit more, have a bit more capacity, more bums on seats, maybe more. I believe, I'm not sure which one you prefer. Do you prefer the Holt End or the North stand? Please tell me, let me know in the comments, because it was like on the left hand side of me, as I was walking down, on the left hand side of me there was a wedding going on, and I looked at the bride and I was like, wow, she is hot. I mean, she was in the Lamborghini. I mean, there was like 3 or 4 Lamborghinis, and I think it was some sort of G-Wagon, going to a wedding next door opposite the stadium. So yes, as I was doing filming my bits, and I was like, construction work and the music and people on the streets, and I was like, I was going to tell you the whole history of how that became a Doug Ellis stand, why the architecture's there, where the lounges are there and all that sort of thing. So, and also I'm very, very surprised I went there on a very wrong day, to be honest. I went there on the wrong day because you had the famous North stand where they had I'll show you in the pictures and the bits of the video that there were, you know, you had your I call it the successful wall, you know, where you won trophies at what year and stuff, and that's fascinating. But it just seems like, I don't know what they're doing to the stand. Are they absolutely demolishing it and to make it bigger? So, or are they just to make it, I don't know. I mean, as a Chelsea fan, I was like, you know, I'm standing next to Trinity Road stand, one of the only stands where it has a road underneath. I came probably at the wrong time of the year, well, maybe all of the years, because they're doing some building works. So there you go. It must be where you have a lot of fans, you know, mixing, having drinks. Hopefully you can hear me. So yes, I'm enjoying my day out in Birmingham, you know, to go and have a pint, because it's 5 o'clock somewhere. I think it's 18, wherever it is, back in the 19th century, they got fed up of feeling cold in the winter months, and obviously they don't like to be playing rugby because, you know, you get muddy and, you know, you don't want to end up with cauliflower ears and stuff. So they went to church one morning on a Sunday morning, and they've obviously probably talked about football, and then the idea, there's just, let's say some moments went over to the lamppost, and these four men said, I want to start a football club. I want to start a football club for the local Birmingham, and, you know, anyone who's not really keen on playing football, rugby, if anyone's not keen on playing rugby, they can play football. So also, I think it's also to do with cricket as well, in the winter months as well. So yes, they went on there, formed the idea, and here is on that famous, right next to your famous staircase, that lamppost. It tells you how it all started and everything. You know, it's incredible. It's incredible from what I've seen from the exterior of the stadium. And I think it's from that stand is where Archibald, is it his name, Archibald? Well, the Scottish bloke who built it, the stand, who became a very famous architect and did the sort of similar designs around the UK. But that's incredible, you know, it's incredible. I mean, obviously they made a bit of alterations to modernise it in for the, you know, today's time sort of thing. I didn't go. I'll wait for the plane to go past. Helicopters. Anyway, so I didn't go up the famous staircase because they were building, because they were doing, on the right hand side, they were doing something on bits of it, whatever it is, and then you got these construction workers on the left hand side of me, just over the fence, and they're sort of like looking and watching me because I was the only one there, and they're probably thinking, what is this pillock's doing? But you know what construction workers are like. They like to look at people, you know, they like to look at people in a quite a creepy way, so they should be focusing on their cones. My photos and my film, and then I went out of that gate, turned right into what I was hoping to film the whole sector of the Trinity Road stand. And now that stand is famous because, I mean, in the past, you used to have cars running underneath it, and it feels very similar to the one it's in Valencia, the football ground. I'm hoping to go there one day to show you it and explain it a lot better. But it's only one of the stands where its engineering is fantastic. You know, the engineering side of it, it's like, how do they, why couldn't they make the whole stand just be on the floor and stuff? But it's incredible, you have like the actual, like I call it the under the stand bridge, it's unbelievable. Anyway, on that day, I was hoping to take proper photos of the Champions Wall on that stand, but that was partly bits of cover up with construction machines and that real construction fences, and it was really, really odd. So I had to really lift my camera and and take photographs of those bits if I can. So yeah, that stand is very famous. And then as I went to the pavement and took a photograph of the Trinity Road stand, and why are there bikes? Why are there delivery bikes? I mean, I'm deaf, right? I can't hear anyone who's coming up behind me, and especially bikes. They need to have some sort of vibrating tracks or something to make deaf people and blind people to be aware that someone's coming up behind you. Anyway, that's my rant over. So, as I was filming that bit, I was explaining what's that stands there, and I was took photos that you could peek into one of your stands, and I was like, yeah, I recognise that stand. I recognise that from the TV. It looks really good. It looks amazing, So, yeah, I was a bit disappointed, very disappointed. I couldn't really take photographs or film or on certain bits of the stand. And then as you go a little bit further forward, there was a statue, and the statue is a very famous Scotsman called William McGregor. William McGregor, who's a guy who came up with the idea of forming the Football League. He's the one who came up with the idea of forming a league structure, because back in them days, most clubs who were founded clubs, they were doing friendly matches, and they noticed that the attendance was going down because it was friendly matches, and they need to have a bit of competition. So this bloke, William McGregor, he was the one who came up with the idea of forming the Football League. And I don't want to talk too much about it because I know that Why Football Paradise just done a video about it, and he does really good videos about it, and he is an Aston Villa, well, his mum is an Aston Villa fan, so it makes more sense. And it'd be a bit weird about if I'm a Chelsea fan talking about a man who came up with the Football League idea and stuff. But it's incredible because this bloke, William McGregor, I would say he was the most famous administrator of his time. To come up with a structure that is known around the world, and many Europeans have come up with a very similar structure. It's incredible. We're talking like 100 odd years later, and so to take a photograph of the William McGregor statue, and just hoping to have a bit of a walk around the of that concourse, you know, where hoping to see if there's any more information or anything that could be interesting. But that is blocked off and shut because there was construction workers doing something. So I had to go round the long way round. On the left hand side of it, of you know, neck opposite all that road, Trinity Road stand, you got a nice park, nice community feel, and I think you probably got a forest going up there or some sort of woodlands. I mean, comment below if you know what it is, because obviously you're local and you live there. So yeah, so as I was walking towards the famous North Stand, my gosh, I was shocked to see that. You know, as you come into the gates of the North Stand, and I can see the your club shop. I don't think they call it the mega store, do they? So yeah, I took a photograph of your lion statue, and I saw some Aston Villa fans walking around, going into the shop, and they had sort of looked at your, you know, your famous North End stand, or whatever you call it, the North Stand, and seeing all the famous, you know, pictures of what cups you've won and stuff. And I just stood there and I was like, some of them are doing tours, you know, actual tours, and I'm like thinking, you know, you can do a tour. I was going to do a tour and see the change rooms and stuff, but I thought, you know what, I want to come back once, whatever they're done with the North Stand, and then experience it myself. You know, you can have 100% experience. It just didn't feel justified to me that, you know, I would pay, you know, £26 just to go and see maybe bits of the tour, and then they say, oh, we're hoping that we'll be finished whatever year, and this is going to have so and so capacity and stuff. I prefer when things are finished so you can see things and experience it. Anyway, and I saw your fan zone, and I thought, not bad fan zone. You know, you got your bars. I'm sure some of you have been there who are Aston Villa fans. I don't know whether if it's just a place for the away fans to go into that, to watch that North, wherever it is, I don't know. So anyway, as I was walking along your fan zone, and I was like, it looks quite good, it looks amazing. So the club shop, I just feel like, yeah, you have your videos, montage of the club from the years since it began to today's times, but I just felt the entrance is a bit very underwhelming. You know, obviously it's very underwhelming, because I saw your cafe. It just looks like, it feels like someone's waiting room, you know, like a how shall I explain it? It's like a dentist waiting room, you know what I mean? Like a very poor dentist waiting room, the cafe. I thought it could have been nicer there, you know, maybe a bit more pictures, and, you know, maybe, you know, some Aston Villa chants, songs in the background or something like that. Anyway, I was going to have a coffee in there, and I thought, you know what, you only had like one table with a few chairs. It just didn't feel like an actual cafe. It just feels like you know what I mean? It feels like a Portaloo, really. I'm sorry to say that, but I'm sure you might have the same opinion as me. So, as I walked deeper into your club shop, and I saw your kits, merchandise, and I thought, not bad. I like it. I like what you've done with it, you know, your products and stuff. And I thought, yeah, pretty good club shop. As I walked towards your captain's brick of lions, I'll show you in the picture right now, and I saw the name John Terry, and I was like, John Terry. I really had to jog my memory. I was like, John Terry played for Aston Villa. And then he came to me a second later, and I was like, yeah, oh yeah, he played for Aston Villa. Oh my gosh, it was like, he doesn't really talk about it, to be that much. He talks more about Chelsea days than Aston Villa days, than his later days, which is fair enough. I mean, I don't really know whether he had a good ending to his career, but you know, he was captain of Aston Villa in its troubled times. Yeah, it was great to see John Terry, the ex-Chelsea player, and he was the captain of Aston Villa. Last 2 years of his career, so he had some good times. I think he helped you get promoted in the Championship, I think it was, and then he went on to become assistant manager there. So yeah, there were some good times for him and the club. You know, obviously you got back into the Premier League. So yeah, anyway, as I was walking out of the club shop, I just felt good club shop, but there were no toilets. The toilets, I had to go to the Portaloo, you know, the actual construction workers Portaloo that has been provided for the fans. It's, you know, the whole concourse, I love the fan zone. I think if I go there on a match day, have a beer with you, I feel like it's just amazing. You know, you've got one of the most amazing grounds. My issue is the area. You know, if you've been, you know, invested in a football club, it should be invested into the local economy, you know, improve the area. So yeah, that's my little needs to improve. So yeah, I really enjoyed my day in Villa fans, let me know in the comments below. Chelsea fans, tell me if you ever been there on a match day when obviously, you know, the North Stand and obviously no construction works, blah blah blah. I hope you all have a great weekend.